Hey, how's it going there, folks? Welcome back here to the weekend. It is the Earthmaster here on this side of the microphone, about 11:03 a.m. California time, June 22nd, 2024. Going to be a pretty hot one out here in Northern California today. We'll check out the weather here at the end of this update video, towards the end. Right now, 1.3 earthquake into the area of Southern California. Did see a little bit of movement jumping up and down the state here across the plate boundary overnight. Of course, we did have that 4.3 upgraded to a 4.5 earthquake. Actually, it looks like they they went ahead and re-downgraded it to a 4.3 near the Laytonville area around the Macama Fault. Looks like a couple other aftershocks here in this area overnight. The latest one, a 2.0, so continue to keep an eye here overall across the west coast as we're seeing a little bit of elevated movement, including a 1.9 here just about an hour or so ago. West of the San Francisco Zoo, a little 1.9 coming in on the San Andreas Fault, or just off of it, looks like. Maybe this little branch right here. Further down south, lighten up slightly out here across the North American and the Pacific plate boundary. As you can see, those two earthquakes there on opposite side of each other, and just continuing to stay somewhat elevated out here across the west coast. We'll definitely keep an eye on the movement out here today. A little 0.8 up into the Mount St. Helens area as well. This one on the eastern flank here, but well below the surface. It looks like 13 kilometers deep there. They have been seeing a little bit of swarming up there in the Mount St. Helens here recently. One earthquake here around the Utah area earlier this morning as well, north of the Great Salt Lake City area, northwest of here. And this area, Bluebell Study area, someone mentioned that there's some type of oil operations up here, but I haven't confirmed it yet. This area has seen quite a bit of swarming here, not only in the last 30 days, but also if we go back the last couple months here, specifically around this area, with no main quake. Just periodic swarms kicking up here in various areas around the Blue Spring Hills. I still have yet to check into this as to find out the exact cause of this earthquake activity. I definitely need to put that on my list here. Just been kind of busy out here on this end. Oil fields getting hit out there in Texas once again. Nothing going on throughout the New Madrid seismic zone or the eastern portion of the country. Yellowstone National Park. Well, let's double check Yellowstone and see what we have here. Let's see. As far as earthquake activity goes, I'm really not seeing anything of significant value. This over here, hard to say what that is. It almost looks like wind or thunderstorms on the west side here of the park. We'll check that out in a little bit once we get to the weather, see if that's what that is or not. All right, further out and about here, another earthquake coming into the Tonga area. This one a little bit deeper this morning, a 4.5. We have been noticing some shallow earthquake activity out here recently, indicating some strain up at the surface levels due to all the deeper movement here recently in the area. We really haven't seen any major surface adjustment up here. And, you know, if you think about it, all this deeper activity contributes to the strain at the surface regions, the locked areas upstream, and could be seeing that put into motion here pretty soon in terms of larger scale potential out here. Just kind of makes sense. We should be seeing some adjustment going on. New Zealand getting rocked down there a little bit, looks like. North Island area once again, some deeper movement quakes underneath that area. 4.3 along the Kermadec Trench, a little bit further up along the plate boundary. One of the larger quakes in this area. We'll continue to keep that area in mind. And, of course, the typical clustering out here across the Philippines southward. Pretty good swarm of quakes out here in this area. But this is a crunch zone. This is where all of the plates tend to collide here and create a little bit of havoc and daily earthquake activity. That's why we see so many earthquakes here on any given day. All these arrows indicating the direction of the plates. The Australia plate here moving off to the northeast, Eurasia plate here in the green to the southeast. You know, that's a crunch zone. I call it the crunch zone. I don't know if that's a proper term for it, but hey, it makes sense. This is where a lot of earthquakes happen. And for good reason. They got multiple plates there all heading in that direction. So we're always seeing earthquake activity out there. Nothing big for now, just your typical earthquake crunching going on. The Alaska area looks like way up north. Got a little bit of movement up here. Let's see what we got. Not that far up north here, but it looks around the Denali area. 4-pointer coming in this morning. 107 kilometers deep here underneath this area. We have been seeing some swarming out here around the Denali area, just off of this major plate boundary, or that's not a plate boundary, but a fault system up here. Plate boundary sits down south, which is a major subduction zone area. So common to see a lot of deeper activity underneath this area, and of course, large-scale movement quakes. But for now, a 4-pointer and some various earthquakes out there in the smaller range across the Alaska area today. The big island of Hawaii. Well, let's see. Mixed bag of earthquakes from yesterday and today. Still seeing some movement here towards the upper east rift zone. Got to watch that because that could be telling us where things might be headed in terms of magma intrusion or possibly some fissure activity opening up out here. Let's go check out the latest information statement here from the USGS. And hope everyone's having a good weekend so far. We're probably going to make it a pool day out here. Just try to stay cool. It's supposed to be about 107 degrees here in Northern California. And that's not the feels like temperature. That's the actual air temperature here. No new changes here on the status of Kilauea Volcano. The deformation data is what gives us the insight as to what's going on below the surface here. And we've been steadily, rapidly going up, 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 and up, unlike any other time before here. And that appears to be the same thing here today. Really no change going on here. See if we got the latest update put out today or not. It looks like the 21st. This was put out yesterday here. Let's see here. They're just talking about the SO2 emissions and how they're low. So following this recent eruption here on the southwest rift zone was a measly 10 hours. Magma has been repressurizing the storage system beneath the crater area and the South Caldera region, activating earthquakes in the upper east rift zone and in the caldera south of the crater area. At this time, it is not possible to say whether this increase in activity will lead to an intrusion or an eruption in the near future, or simply continue as a seismic unrest at depth. But think about it, right? A seismic unrest is not really the correct word for magma repressurization, right? Eventually, this is going to lead to something bigger. And magma intrusion or an eruption is going to be the most likely scenario. To just say this is going to be seismic activity and then go away, not going to happen. Changes in the character and location of unrest can occur quickly, as can the potential for an eruption. Right now, there are no signs of imminent eruption, but the key to watching that, again, as I've said across many volcanoes and whatnot we've been watching this year, is the earthquake activity and seeing where it's increasing. Right now, this looks like on any given day we could see this amount of earthquake activity. It's when we see these huge swarms that kick up, talking about hundreds of earthquakes in a short amount of time period. But that's when we know something's going on here, either magma displacement off to the one of the rift zones or an eruption there at the surface. But right now, doesn't look like anything of major activity is taking place there on that a beautiful big island of Hawaii. But watch it. Got to keep an eye on it, right? Things are changing pretty quickly. Or could change pretty quickly. Right now, they're stationary. All right, let's see what else we got. The Atlantic Ocean showing some movement here today with a couple of fives. One from yesterday, actually. One just after midnight near the Georgetown, St. Helena area, across this Ascension fracture zone out there in the oceanic crust. Aside from that, let's see, what else? Nothing really going on across the northern Atlantic. Of course, the Iceland area, I'm sure, continues. Let's go check out the live. Oops. Hold on a second here. What did I do? Live from Iceland site. sure we're still good. All right. Looks like these guys are still busy bees out here, attempting to block the further flow of that lava breach, that berm beach breach up here. Goodness. And let's check out the different views, see if we can get a little bit better perspective of it. Because they had a little breach in their barrier, the protective barrier, here a day or so ago. And they're doing the best they can here to establish that protective barrier. That's the barrier, the northern wall here, that protects the Svartsengi area and the Blue Lagoon. So it does look like they are trying their best out here. I do know the eruption is slowing down, or if not, maybe has halted. Let's check out the latest information. Got to remember, though, that lava is sometimes flowing not at the surface levels, but in between these little lava channels underneath the previously deposited areas. And it can stay hot like that for a little bit and continue to flow in, in downhill areas. And that's why we're seeing that kind of advance there today or not today, but a couple days ago. It popped up out of the blue and breached that barrier. Let's see here. This was put out yesterday. 3 lava tubes flowing over the park and machines working to contain the lava flow. So declining activity in the crater and a decrease in volcanic activity suggests that the eruption may end in the near future, but there is uncertainty as to when. Right? That's the question, when. And of course, the latest updated Svartsengi inflation chart here shows this is the vertical displacement right here. There's the eruption. Of course, we're going to see a huge drop in that, right? Because we are getting that volume of magma up to the surface, depleting the area below. It's slowly going up, but more slowly than what it did before here prior to this most recent eruption. So hard to say. Maybe we're coming to an end of the series of eruptions. Maybe not. Maybe it may kick back up. Maybe it may go down. Just got to watch it, see how it plays out. All right, sunspots. Goodness, we are looking at some flaring going on here from our old friend 3697, 3664, now named, I think it's going to be 3722 here. That is the sunspot coming around for the 3rd time on the Earth-facing side of the sun. Maybe going to give us some further solar activity to look at in terms of aurora upticks and major flares. So this did produce a couple large explosions while it was last out there on the far side of the sun. And of course, remember all the X flares here recently and last month's historic aurora events. This is that sunspot that produced all that activity coming around the eastern limb here, and it is currently flaring. You can see that bright feature out here. So we'll get a little bit better look at that sunspot, see how complex it remains. I'll be surprised if it's still, super duper complex or not. Don't really have a good visual of it right now, though. But it does look like it's still flaring out. There was some C flare activity. So keep an eye on 3722. Overall threat, 15% chance for X flare. M flare at 60, C flare around 99% chance or so. We'll continue to keep an eye on this. Now this is pretty cool. It looks like Kevin added a couple different segments, a little redesign is always nice. Visible sunspot regions here does show the sunspots and their conditions here, whether they're growing, declining, or just relatively stable. Right now, 3722 shows a beta structure, magnetic structure, and it's stable. Kind of interesting here. So, flare events over here, the most recent flares. No major auroras here in the forecast for now, but we'll see if we can't get that to change. All right. This was put out today, it looks like, a large plasma yesterday. A large eruption of plasma was just observed from behind the eastern limb. That looks like it did come off of sunspot number 36 or 3722, the former 3697. So it does look quite active here. Again, we'll get a better look at it here in the days ahead. Right now, what we got to deal with center disk is a whole lot of nothingness. These active regions here across the western limb will continue to gain some momentum, but they will be out of sight, out of mind here in the days ahead. And we got a couple different sunspots. The main one I'm keeping my eye on is going to be the former sunspot. So this 3722 looks to be a separate area, very close to this 3697. So I don't think our old friend is going to be named 3722. I think that is a different sunspot here, separate from the large one over here. So that's not it. It's this one back here. Again, we'll watch it. Maybe they'll update this a little bit later on this evening, see if we can't get a correct name for it. But I don't think it's 3722. That looks like a separate area. 5.0, South Sandwich Islands area, northern segment of the subduction zone at 120 kilometers deep early this morning. So things are moving out here. Hope everyone has a decent day as far as severe weather goes. Let's see what we got in terms of that potential. Are we here? Running a little slow. I don't think it's me. Oh, there we go. Current day one outlook out here. As you can see, some slight severe weather risk out here across portions of the Great Lakes and the Midwest area. 5% chance for tornado activity. No big time threat, but there is a little threat there around the Cedar Rapids, Iowa area. Wind and some hail threats out there today. So just stay weather aware. For the day on Sunday, that severe weather shifts much further to the northeast up here. 10% chance for tornado activity. Goodness. Up there around portions of New Hampshire, New York. Maybe not New York. It looks like Vermont. These areas up here in the yellow. 5% surrounding that. Wind and hail threats as well. It looks to be wind and tornado the primary threats up there tomorrow. Out here along the California area, we're high and dry. Not a whole lot going on in terms of any type of weather besides heat. Just hot. Just cooking out here. It is summertime, and this is normal for us, unfortunately. I don't like to say 107 degrees is normal. Let's see here. Yeah, 107, 104. Some of these could be a little bit warmer. This is an ECMWF model. But either way, I think we can agree it's going to be hot out here everywhere along the West Coast. Hot out here in the South area in Texas, but they got that humidity, so that kind of makes it feel a little bit hotter. But I don't know. It's a dry heat, right? That's what I get told all the time. Well, at least it's a dry heat. Yeah, thanks. Like standing in front of a dry, hot oven. I'd rather have a little bit of moisture in the air. At least that keeps everything green, keeps the dew points up, limits the fire hazard out there. Here, it's just hot. Speaking of fire, the Sites fire out here in Colusa County, southwest of me here, along the Coast Range, the foothills of the coastal mountains, is at 19,195 acres with 35% containment. So they are, I guess, getting a handle on it in terms of containment, improving control lines in preparation for the heightened temperatures and increased winds that are anticipated through the weekend. So it looks like they have downgraded all evacuation orders. They've been downgraded to evacuation warnings in the area. Of course, got to stay vigilant with the fire personnel and whatnot up there, but it's a pretty large fire. At least they're getting a handle on it. That still remains the highest one out here in Northern California as far as acreage goes, but 35% containment, which is good. they're definitely getting a handle on it for sure. Hopefully. All right, as far as any major asteroids go here's the latest 5 close approaches, and really nothing of major concern out here. The latest one, or at least one of the closest ones, is going to be 1,200,000 something miles out here. Okay, not a big deal. 62-foot house-size asteroid, June 25th here. So literally, there's not a whole lot coming up here in the next couple days. There's some big ones coming up as we get towards the end of June. We'll cover that a little bit more, but they're at a relatively safe distance here. These are all well over, a couple million miles here. All right, have a good one, folks. We'll catch you guys back out here later tonight. Stay cool, stay vigilant, keep your eye. There's various areas out here. There's the plates are definitely in some action right now in terms of movement. And California, of course, is what I got my eyes on here for now. Have a good day, and we'll see you guys back out here later tonight for the Saturday night update. Have a good one.